All right, hello, welcome everybody, welcome back. How we doing? Hopefully you're having a fantastic day. Personally, it's been a little bit hectic to get everything I wanted to do done today, but we are here, we are live. Good to see you all. It's been something or other. Like, of course, it's Tuesday, so it's, of course, a Dreamers Esports tournament day. But it was definitely not easy getting the footage for today. Personally, I think between my wife and I, we built 3 beds, a couch, moved over from a top floor of a place with a couch and 3 dressers. I'm sore, I'm exhausted as all hell, but we have just too much to talk about and too much fun times ahead of us here to not be live, to tell you. Just had way too much going on, especially over the last weekend. Of course, gameplay here for today. I'm going to be going over some of the things that, of course, did happen over the weekend and into Monday. Starting things off, of course, with the recap of the Leviathan No Limits tournament that Illuvium themselves put on. We also have the Illuvium Pro League announcement to go over. And then, of course, wrapping things up here today with the season opener for the Dreamers Esports tournament cast. So lower down the music here as we get started with this. So the first thing, of course, that I do want to actually end up talking about here tonight is, like I was saying, the Dreamers, or not the Dreamers Esports, the Leviathan tournament. Pull that up here in just a second. So I was genuinely, like, excited but worried going into this, and this just didn't exactly go as I expected. It went better. So, with the Leviathan tournament, of course, this was Illuvium's first opportunity at using the Leviathan game mode in a tournament setting, which, of course, compared to traditional Illuvium Gauntlet, this is where your owned NFTs actually made a difference. So it was always the characters that you, or the creatures, the Illuvials that you owned, and the stats that they had, the level that you had. And I know the community wanted this for the longest time. I was definitely wanted it as well. I wanted to see it personally and see what ended up happening. Because I'm not going to lie to you, I thought this was going to be pay to win as hell. Now, at a certain extent, all the people who got in early, got the Illuvials, leveled them up and whatnot, they should absolutely be rewarded. But I was expecting going into this that it was going to be completely one-sided, and those that were your whales, so to speak, or people that were in teams that were going to be basically just shipping off their Illuvials to whichever teammate made it the furthest. I thought that there was going to be a problem where that would just dominate. However, I was very pleasantly surprised to see that the levels and stats were not everything. And that, sure, as you got further along in the tournament, it definitely helped. You did start seeing players that had leveled up their Illuvials specifically, and like had some better ones with some better statistics. Like, yeah, on average, they got further. However, there was still plenty of times I saw like head-to-head battles where someone with less levels on their Illuvials still did take down somebody who had nearly maxed. And I was very, like, personally, from the gamer's perspective, I think that's awesome. Because yes, I agree that there should be some value in holding your Illuvials. However, I should not, for example, be able to pilot a bunch of level 60 Illuvials and go far in an event just because I have them. And I tease myself because my rating is absolutely garbage in the arena. Like, I am a terrible player, to say the least, and I'm a terrible battler. And I was happy to see that once it got to the end of it, it's like, okay, those community names, those people that we expected to be in the finals were in the finals. And there's still like some names that were definitely in there when it comes to the semifinals and whatnot. But like, I guess my point being is just you were able to go far still, even as a low spend or free to play player, which was awesome to see. What was also really cool to see is because, of course, leveling up your Illuvials is something that takes a heck of a long time, especially right now. And especially if you were free to play. Like, God forbid, if you're trying to level up your Illuvials off of Stage 0 overworld runs, they're going to be there for a while. I know that's not exactly what some of these people did, but like, say, for example, for myself, if I were to try and level them up a little bit, that's probably what I'd be doing. And because of that, because it takes so long to level up an Illuvial, like, you can't level everything up. So even though there may be certain things that are a little bit more meta, rogues, revenants, I'm looking at you, you were still able to see different strategies come around just based off of what everybody leveled up. And it wasn't always necessarily the meta thing. And with that, you're kind of able to build storylines with the ranger, the player themselves, and the team that they brought. Like, I know for example, the one player that always keeps coming into my mind, for example, is Haziko Perico. They were running a bunker composition, Nature Wildfire Verdant, pretty much every single time. And like, that stuck out to me. It's like, okay, like, yeah, this player, this is what they play. They've been doing a fantastic job with this. And I'm guessing that's because that's what they had leveled up. And regardless of what the shop fed them, that's exactly what they were looking for. And you kind of saw this a little bit across the board. I know there were some players, like say Fox Spirit, for example, who looked like they could play pretty much anything at any time. But at the same time, that's also one of those players that was around long enough and serious enough about the game that I feel like one way or another, they have like one of everything. But it was cool seeing the different personalities come on through and then really feel attached, sort of speak, to the Illuvials. I know I was talking to Scoriox about this on X, and this sounds stupid, but what Leviathan brought out to me personally is not something I've necessarily felt in gaming before, because it feels like you're raising your own creature and then putting it to battle. Now, I know the argument that would come out and say, well, Silent, didn't just say like you're like heavy into competitive Pokemon? Isn't that just it? Like, isn't that just the same thing? But there's something a little different to this, at least in my mind. Because yes, if I was to use Pokemon as a comparison, for example, I technically could have something right now from Pokemon Red, have it transferred into Pokemon Home, and then go use it in a tournament. And raise it up myself, train it up myself. So what's the difference between that and Illuvium? And I argue that the battle itself is what's the difference maker. In Pokemon, I am micromanaging every single move that Pokemon makes. I know exactly what its speed is going up against something that I know at least roughly what its speed is. So I know the order of the attacks, and I know exactly which attack I'm going to use. And even through the RNG mechanics in the game, it's still very scripted, so to speak. Meanwhile, this is the father coming out in me here. But what this felt like is I have my Illuvials, or I see people putting out their Illuvials, putting them out onto the field, getting them roughly into the right position, and it's like, okay, the rest is on you now. I can't control you. It's up to you to perform. And that really personally felt like, say, my oldest son ends up going into go play soccer. We can go play in the field and train, do passes, shots, all I want. But I can't micromanage him out on the field. He has to perform himself. So in a really, really odd way, this may seem like a stretch to some, and I do get it, it's a little weird. But watching people play the Illuvium tournament with Leviathan Illuvials, or in this Leviathan mode, felt like I was watching players put their kids out onto the field and having them compete. And that emotional investment is like nothing I've ever felt in the game before. And I wasn't even a competitor, I'm just a caster, mate. So that, I'm extremely excited to see more Leviathan come on through, because that was different. That was a different experience, and I'm extremely thankful that I had the opportunity to cast that. Which, by the way, that entire thing was just absolutely nuts, because I didn't think I was going to be able to cast that, because, of course, I'm just in a tiny little shack, right? So when the kids are home, they're always right next to me. So me being able to cast without hearing kids screaming in the background is usually rare. However, my wife, thankfully at the last possible second, was able to find some plans and got them to all have fun doing something else outside. But, excuse me, or with a family member rather. And I was just going on through, kind of treating this similarly to I would the Dreamers Esports tournaments, except it was all live. Because, of course, these Dreamers Esports tournaments, I record these as it's happening, and then when the kids go to bed, I cast it. But that wasn't the case here. This was all live, and it was just crazy seeing everything from the live point of view, once again. And being able to do that, and then, incidentally, I guess kind of being the stream for the event was absolutely mind-boggling, and the support from the Illuvium community over the last couple of days, and especially on the day of, has been absolutely phenomenal, and I'm super, super thankful that everybody from staff from Illuvium themselves to players that I've even seen competing on the field or in my ranked games, just community members, people in the crypto community, like, I'm extremely, extremely happy to be a part of this, and I look forward to more, and I thank you all for the support so far. Pretty much wraps up the Leviathan tournament, though. I'm definitely, again, excited that I was able to do that. But of course, that's not the only thing that's really happened over the last couple of days. I know originally, here in Warwick made the, kind of, not the spoiler, but the teaser of sorts that the IPL was being announced, and I did not expect it to be announced anytime in the near future, and then bam, we get hit with this today, where the full announcement is just straight up here now. And I am extremely excited. I read over this real quick once, but didn't get to really go into depth about it, so go through it a little bit together here. But this, I have a mixture of things to say about this, but overall, absolutely fantastic and excited. I am so happy that this is a thing. Why haven't I liked this yet? Let's get that fixed up. But yeah, the fact that first off, across all of the tournaments, $250,000 worth of prizing is absolutely insane. The 3 tournament tiers, I think as we take a look at the schedule a little bit, that'll make a little bit more sense. And then it's a mixture of IPL points, so just from competing in the circuit of tournaments, and then taking a few people from the ranked ladder. I do like that they implemented this as well, so you can keep competing even if a tournament isn't necessarily happening on that day. I'm a little bit surprised, though, that it's only taking 4. But I get it, with the ranked ladder can be a little bit more volatile, so definitely want to not give too many slots to that. But yeah, mainly being from the IPL points, so from the tournaments themselves. The last call tournament getting a couple as well. I love the idea of last chance qualifiers, and that is a fantastic choice there. Last chance event, I'm not exactly sure what the difference is between the two, or between these two tournaments are, these styles are, but I'm sure I'll find more information on that soon. 4 wildcard invites, I mean, that's always fun, but this is just a popularity contest at the end of the day. And then, of course, the 4 from the ranked. So, yeah, again, just similar to what I was saying, IPL points, that's all based off of the actual tournaments themselves. RPL is based off of the ladder. And then the main one that I think we're going to be seeing majority of the time based off of the schedule is the IPL 250s. So these are still important tournaments, but capped at 32. I definitely do worry about the cap being 32. Because of what we kind of saw during the Leviathan tournament, as soon as the announcement for that tournament went up, within an hour, I think it was already like 3/4 full. So there is genuinely a thing where a time zone could actually screw you out of not competing in a tournament because you wouldn't have had the opportunity to even see the announcement. And then the other ones, the IPL 500 and the IPL 1000, those being 64. Oddly, with this one being a 64 invite only, I wonder what exactly entails somebody to get invited to that per se, because the IPL 1000, this only happens twice, I think, during the entire thing. No, 3 times. It happens 3 times throughout the season here. Going into October, it looks like, going into November, and at the tail end of November again. So like we have a bunch of tournaments all happening. It looks like pretty well every Saturday from mid-August until December. So anybody who's competing for IPL points, because I'm not seeing anything about this being based off of your best finish, this genuinely means that anybody who's trying to make a serious push into this needs to play weekly. If there is something along the lines of maybe in the rules that was that I either missed or that I didn't see, where it like takes your top 10 finishes or something like that, top 8 finishes or something along those lines, then that'd be something. However, that doesn't look like to be the case. So 100%, like if you want into that main event that happens later on into December, you gotta grind. And you have to be ready to compete at all times. Or every single week. The one thing that is kind of nice though, as an introduction to the Pro League anyway, because I at first thought this was gonna be Leviathan. There is nothing on this post saying that it is actually Leviathan. And in fact, people in the community have been saying that this is just standard gauntlet. So this does mean that anybody can hop on in and be at a completely even playing field with somebody brand new. And that is extremely exciting. I'm looking forward to it. I see a couple people in chat. Crypto Quick Chat. Hello, welcome, welcome. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this as well. Let's see. And then cosmetics and extras. Honestly, because we're constantly working with artwork, and if there's one thing that everybody's loved about Illuvium since like the beginning, it's been the artwork. So getting the borders, emotes, and Illuvatars, like those are actually good. Gonna look good. Those are like trophies in the eyes of many, so that'd be wonderful, especially since it's actually earned, like it says right here, earned through tournament placement and participation. So might get something in theory, if I were to guess, like you get something based off participation, but then getting actual like achievements and high placements would give you something. And I am so thankful that this is not behind a paywall. I was very, very worried for a bit here that IPL would have some sort of entry fee to try and offset the costs a little bit, but that is not necessarily the case this time by, which is good to see. Not locked behind the battle pass, open qualifiers for the most part. There's of course the big money ones that say that it's invite only. We'll have to kind of again figure out what that means a little bit later. But overall, anybody could come try this out. And if they perform well, they can make a little bank on that weekend. And that's extremely, extremely exciting. That being said, though, I've been seeing everybody extremely excited about it. Don't get me wrong, I am very excited as well. But I'm seeing people saying like, "Oh, we made it. This is it." Like, 100% all in, like Illuvium to the moon. And as somebody, of course, prior to me being silent, when I was in a past life, I was an esports broadcaster for traditional esports and for collegiate esports. And the number one problem that I would constantly see tournament organizers run into, and I really, really hope, especially here for Illuvium, that this does not happen, is that money equals attention. Whether it be my like local Smash or FGC trying to make a tournament and they decide to throw a heavier prize pool at it, or watching a like professional league throw a stupid huge prize money for, or put a ton of prize money in on the line for a tournament, what I would end up seeing is that it wasn't necessarily the end-all be-all in terms of attention. When it came to the like local like FGCs or the LAN events or something along those lines, I feel like they would treat it the same way that they do the prize pool, and it's just a payday to them. So one thing that does kind of worry me is I know a lot of the attention right now is trying to grab Teamfight Tactics players and bring them into Illuvium. I do believe that that will work a little bit until December. If we have the like content creators or people like showing that they're playing in the game, like yes, that can work. But what I really hope ends up happening is that esports isn't the main focus here. Personally, from my, again, time in the scene, what I do like seeing is when a community and when the esport itself is made from community first, grassroots, and moved up, which for the most part, Illuvium, yes, has absolutely done. This is their first big step outwards. What this is reminding me of right now, and I know they're two completely different genres, but this is reminding me of Marvel Rivals right now. The game is about as casual as it can get, but of course there are people that try super hard and try to rank up and compete. It took them a long time before they finally introduced anything esports with a big prize pool on it. They finally did with Marvel Rivals Ignite. But while Marvel Rivals Ignite is happening, they've just been focusing and pumping out the casual stuff. More heroes, like more characters, more maps, and that kind of thing. So yes, you have the carrot at the end of the stick here for the super competitives. But what can you do while this is happening to keep the casuals? To say somebody like myself, if I were to compete, or hey, like some of the people that we have in the chat here with, say, Crypto Quick Chat, I doubt I'll qualify, but have fun trying. Definitely have fun trying, but if the first couple of tournaments don't go your way, for example, what is the likelihood of you going into October, going into November, and then staying interested in December and staying interested after the tournament is even done? So what I really, really hope is while this is happening, this is Illuvium's opportunity to start throwing teasers for more casual fun stuff. They've got the arena locked down, it looks good, and I know based off of the town halls and the stuff with the staff members themselves, that is on their mind. Like the MMO, for example, side of things, there's nothing, like, other than the raiders out there, of course, but nothing more social and casual quite like the MMO. Get that tied in sometime during this tournament, because you have the attention. People came to Illuvium now because they're interested in the tournament, but what is going to keep them staying afterward? So about like middle of the season, like say, at least personally, by say October, by the second big IPL, the IPL 1000, I would absolutely love to see some sort of update focused around casual play. What that could end up being is anything from, say, an MMO raid boss, sounds like, or possibly new alluvials. This is just me spitballing. I'm not 100% sure of exactly what they've got cooking in the pot. Like, say, for example, we're getting down to the end. Like, what? This is my wish list. It may not necessarily happen. If it doesn't, that's a-okay. I still love this anyway. But let's say going into main event weekend, say after the last IPL 1000, imagine right there you get the announcement that set 2 of alluvials are coming out. That would drive interest for people to stick around, because they feel like they're going to be there day one for something brand new. What I don't want to all of a sudden see is something like, hey, set one of the alluvials are going to go extinct by, like, say, the main weekend or something like that. Because at any point during this, if a competitive player feels like they are behind the rest of the field and they cannot get paid, they will give up. They will look for something else to do. I've been around the FGC, the fighting game community. Time and time again, we see something very, very similar, and I get it, it's two different genres, but the mindset's still the same. The gamer psychology is still the same, where everybody hops on a brand new fighting game title at the very, very beginning because they think they can be the next Daigo Umehara in this new fighting game, be the best of the best. But then what happens? Tournaments start coming out. They get their ass kicked in a little bit. They realize, hey, I feel like I'm behind. And what do you do casual in a fighting game? Nothing. You move on to something different. So I want Illuvium, I want the IPL, I want all of this, of course, to succeed. So I really, really hope that the esports side of things is definitely not the end-all be-all. While this is happening, give us something to chew on in regards to casual, and my goodness, will we be flying. At least, in my opinion. I'm not a marketer, or anything along those lines. I'm not a game designer. I'm just a guy who yaps a lot. But from being in collegiate esports for so long, running my own esports events, broadcasting esports events, this is something I've seen time and time again, and I hope does not wreck Illuvium. But again, from all the things that I've seen in the town hall, it looks like they're already pretty aware of it, so I'm very, very happy to hear that. In regards to my plans for it, I think it's going to come to absolutely no surprise to anybody. But as long as I do manage to have access, like, I know the website that they use right now currently has been absolutely fantastic, being able to hop into pretty much any game that I want and spectate it. If it stays that way, I am completely ready to cast everything. Especially off the start. I know personally, I am in dire need of knowing when some of the time slots of these tournaments are. Because, of course, they're opening tournaments. August 16th, the Saturday there, and then the 23rd and the 30th. Two of those dates I have weddings I'm supposed to go to. And the 30th was supposed to be a board game night. So depending on the time slot, I can either get those casts in and be extremely tired and still make it to everything, or I'm about to piss a bunch of people off, if you know what I'm saying. Hopefully that announcement comes out soon. With that being said, I'm trying to see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about in regards to IPL. I'm glad that everybody's looking forward to it, though. I know, again, like, I'm so excited. It's going to take a little bit for me to get back into it, since I know it's not Leviathan, but it'll still feel the same at the end of the day. It is kind of weird. Like, now that I've seen Leviathan in action, it's like I don't ever want to go back, but at the same time, you kind of need to for the sake of ease of access. Let's see. feel like there's one more thing I wanted to touch on before we do end up getting into this Dreamers Esports Grand Final that happened earlier today. No, I think that pretty much wraps this one up here, so I'm going to do a couple of minutes to set up for the Grand Finals cast from the Dream Ladder Dreamers Esports season opener that did just happen a couple of hours ago. Managed to get this thing recorded while also trying to build a couch, so I will give the preface saying my observing skills in this one is a little bit spaghetti. But trying my damnedest here. We'll still have a good time nonetheless. Once again, as I'm setting this up here, big shout out to everybody who's coming in, tuning in, saying hi in the chat. It's awesome seeing new faces here. And big thank you again to Illuvium and the entire Illuvium community for all of the positive vibes, all of the positive feedback, and all the feedback in general over the last couple of days since the tournament. Nice to feel welcome, nice to feel belonged, and this is definitely where I am most comfortable, and I've been loving it so far. Okay, let's kill the music, why don't we? And I should probably kill that air conditioner. Don't know if you guys could hear it in the background or not, but just to be on the safe side. And a quick sip of coffee. Get jazzed up as we get into this here. Yes, I know, I am an idiot. 9 o'clock in the evening, coffee. I'm gonna be wired, but hey. It is what it is. Ooh, excuse me. Now, of course, as I'm doing this cast, if anybody, of course, in the chat notices that there's anything wrong with the audio quality, by all means, give me a shout. I do have chats open from every single platform, so I can see. Sometimes I do pop off, and then I get a little bit of a crispy microphone, so by all means, point it out, and I will look to make some proper adjustments. The tests I did earlier did seem okay, so hopefully we're good, but just in case. I definitely appreciate it. All right. All right, hello and welcome everybody to the Dreamers Ladder, or excuse me, welcome to the Dream Ladder, the season opener here, this Daydream tournament here for Illuvium Arena, run by Dreamers Esports. We had a little bit of fun with Leviathan last weekend, but now here in Dreamers Esports, we are back with the Illuvium Gauntlet, the standard Illuvium Gauntlet, of course completely free to play, where everybody can come in and play and be at the same competitive level. These players, of course, been fighting it out all afternoon to make it back into these grand finals, and to be fair, we do see quite a few familiar faces, but one or two relatively new faces here, at least to me. They might have been around for a little bit, and Going through our list of players, of course, we got Squeak from Team Monarch. Ma is back, maybe looking for a second tournament win since I've started casting Illuvium. Not Complain seems to be a new face here today. Good to see them there. Fury Hype, of course, we've seen them a bunch. Zico Perico, we've definitely seen them a bunch, especially last weekend as well. Alnert, as well as Detective Alane, and OLA Haas. Of course, this Dreamers Esports tournament kind of bounces between Illuvium and Teamfight Tactics, but by competing in tournaments throughout the month, you do get your chance at some pretty sick prizing, all free to enter. I know I might sound like a corporate shill, but whether it be for Illuvium or for Dreamers Esports, I am not affiliated, I am not sponsored. I just love this stuff, so I want to see you get involved as well. But let's ride along. We got Squeak in the red. Fighters and Bulwarks going against the Scions and Rogues. And one thing I'm wondering if we're going to see down the road here as this event happens. How many people are we going to see go for Rogue? How many people are we going to try and see then get the Revenant on top of it? If there's one thing that I learned in that tournament from the last couple of tournaments, actually, it's that Rogues seem to be very, very popular, and that Revenant seems absolutely busted. And I only know it's busted specifically because even I could go on to ranked and get into the top 4 with it. So, if I can do that, and I am a terrible battler, then Rogues must be pretty strong right now. But one of the players that's been at least not necessarily so favored onto the Rogues has been Zico Perico. I know in the Leviathan tournament we did see them opt for a lot of empath, hold the line kind of nature, or empath, just tanks and heals kind of composition alongside a Scoriox if possible for the damage. A composition I personally like. This time by though, looks like we're gonna hop on over to Ma, looking to try and make this very balanced composition between fighters, rogues, and bulwarks, and empaths all kind of get in there. You get the Revo for a little bit of extra flank damage as well. Go down to the right side here, one bulwark and the empaths. Of course, the Fleesh gonna be able to take down the one, however, now it's kind of stuck recharging for a while. And because this Fleesh takes so long to charge, I really think it does lose value compared to a lot of these other tier 0 Illuvials. It will end up going down. I'm not going to clean this one up nice and quick. Yeah, so not Complain. I'm going to be sitting at 90. I was about to say 85, but it looks like what we see on the board after the blast or after the drone shot seems to be a little bit different compared to what we see on the side. So I'll just keep track of everything on this side here. Of course, this is our first NPC round, outside of the first initial rounds, of course. And, of course, that means holo check. Let's see who's got the shiniest collection, who's got the holos. And right now, it looks like Squeak has that luxury. That bench is completely filled, for the most part, with holos. You absolutely love to see it. And that is one thing I think is kind of cool, like, especially when it comes to the main Illuvium gauntlet where your statistics don't necessarily matter. Being able to get those holos out in the overworld and then just see them even if they have garbage stats, this just feels good, man. Now the region, as you can see, there's actually some pretty powerful stuff here onto the carousel, and that is because of the Crystal Shores region. Everything ends up being a stage 2 alluvial in this, compared to normal when it's just a stage 1, which can really jumpstart your compositions, but it means that everybody's going to have something a little powerful. The poor little TNT is not going to be selected this time, though. Blast on the Fence, not going to be picked up this time, but that's okay. This time we've got Squeak up against Haas. Both players having a very, very nice start here, to say the least. Lots of fighters on the left-hand side here for Squeak. Meanwhile, Haas got the Empath, got a couple Templars as well, the 2 Bulwarks. A little bit of extra firepower with that single fire affinity alongside the single earth affinity. Meanwhile, on the blue side, opting for a little bit more regeneration with that water and earth composition. Where is that Volente going to end up landing? It's going right next to the A-Bot, so it shall be stunned up momentarily. Lots of eyes going to be on this Lynx here in the middle. Loaded up with items and doing a ton of damage so far. It does get stunned up by the Groko. What about the Volente? It's still getting stun locked over in the bottom. The Lynx is finally going to try and back it up. But it took a long time, but I think there's still just too much firepower. With the item that the Lynx is holding, it gets faster at attack speed boosts every single time it attacks. So this thing is swinging now, and it is going to be able to clean this one up. Oh, is Haas going to end up falling a couple of points here? That's the other thing I think I learned from Leviathan, is that when in doubt, grab a Lynx. Everybody seemed to be using Lynxes very early if they got them. I know, like, personally, I kind of blew them off if I didn't want to go for their later version, or their evolved versions, but so many people, I saw so many, pretty much everybody in the semis and top 8s had a Lynx out at some point rather, just because of how much damage it did. Some people would just straight up use 2 or 3 even, if, or not 2 or 3, but 2 of them. If you have 3, they're probably evolved, duh. But going into this next one, Fury Hype, of course, one of the players we saw in that podium position. I think they ended up getting second in the Leviathan tournament, coming off of a very, very successful day. But that Lynx of theirs just got immediately focused down, and it was holding a ton of items. That is a critical member off the board extremely quick in this one. So they may not be long for this world unless they can get something that's around. Charm is not going to make it any easier than Laura doing exactly what it needs to do. Securing that one. Fury Hype got to take a ding here. I mean, that's always the scary thing about front loading 1 or maybe 2 alluvials with the majority of your items. God forbid they get focused down super quickly, and now the rest of your team's kind of skunked unless they can ride it out with their ability. I mean, I guess again, unless you're rogues and revenants and you happen to have the slash in or something, have the penguin that just auto attacks for days, then it does not matter. And taking a look at Not Complain here, going up against Detective Alanay. Bulwarks and fighters here for Detective Alanay. Meanwhile, Enchanter, Empath, Bulwark, and looking at the items right now that are onto the Fleesh of all things, the double stacking attack speed buff. If Not Complain at some point in this one manages to get the penguin, that is going to be ridiculous. Right now, though, they're going to be a little bit World of Hurt. Again, having all that damage front load onto the Fleesh. Look how much damage it did to that Lynx. It basically did negative damage. It barely even tickled it. So it is going to be Detective Alanay taking this one with relative convincing. A lot of low health bars, to be fair. With the exception of that Lynx, that was just so dang tanky. But a shot on over there to Not Complain once again. Alan versus Not Complain going to be happening. Let's hop along here with Ma as well, see what's going on. They're going up against Zika Perico. Bulwarks, fighters, got the one rogue alongside here for Ma. Zika Perico again for fighters and rogues. Riptorus loaded up and ready to go on the side of Zika Perico. But they're going head to head here with the Crunk, which of course does have that blinding ability, which really can shut fighters and somewhat shut rogues down at the same time for at least a couple of seconds, which could of course be the difference maker when you are also using fighters yourselves and opting for the Templar class to try and maybe steal some of that attack and steal some health or something as well. A nice last-minute choice there for Zico Perico to get the Riptorus away from the Crunk. So it's going to be able to go open season here with that Rylu. It is going to end up going down. Now just a matter of dealing with the Grogo. Sure, you got stunned up, but you should be able to get this thing extremely low before going down. But it does not matter. Muzz Fighters are just too damn strong right now, and it is going to tear through Zico Perico. Ma already loaded up with the Wildfire as an extra little bit of sustain, little bit of extra damage as well, so solid composition there for them so far. Especially if you happen to get the Wildfire affinity imprint, where you can just, like, say, turn the Rylu, something that gets its Omega ability relatively quickly, and just start spamming fire everywhere. That's what I personally love to see. I just love watching it burn and just sitting there and healing through everything that you can throw at me. Right along here with Fury Hype, who does happen to have the Exalted Valente. Stage 3 fully evolved, loaded up with a couple of items. Straight up chopped through that tank like it was nobody's business. Might be a tier 0, but it does not mean it is not strong. I'll be looking forward to seeing that Valente in action, but again, as this is the rogue composition, might see it get swapped out eventually. And that Dark Hollow on that ace, that looks really, really cool. Speaking right along there with that Exalted Valente here from Fury Hype, going up against Not Complain. Not Complain at this 13th round, sitting at 69 HP compared to the 73 here. Opting for the fighters. Again, here we go with the Rogues and Revenants here from Fury Hype. Let's see where the effectiveness can lie. The Charm's going to come out there from the Quinks, but it's going to get basically chopped down extremely quickly. Lots and lots of pressure coming out here from this polar bear. It's so tanky, it's got a bunch of attack speed as well. This thing is nasty, and Furies is going to take the hit here and Not Complain, finding exactly what they need to do and was able to make those rogues pay with that polar bear. And I feel like that's going to be the name of the game here, because a lot of these top players, I do believe, realize the power of Rogue Revenant. And because of that, it means more people are going for it, which means overall getting a stronger version of Rogue Revenant, finding your evolutions, is going to be that much more difficult. So you could very well go into the game just completely ignoring it, but trying to hard counter it as best as you possibly can. And I've seen a few people find some ways to do this, whether it be with a bunker style composition, kind of similar to what we saw Zico Perico do during the Leviathan tournament, or you just straight out try to outgun them with fighters. It's a scary way to do it, but someone's got to try and find a way to deal with these rogues, as we do see again lots of rogues coming out here. Zico Perico's got the fighters, but on the other side we are completely loaded up with not only some rogues but some hollow ones as well. Some pretty penguin and some pretty gorilla as well diving on through. Let's see if they can get the job done together here. As of right now, Zico Perico seems to be melting on through these rogues. One after another. Actually has two Riptorus going on through. One has items, one doesn't. And there's just straight up too much firepower on the side of Zico Perico. The rogues could not burst, and the fighters on the left-hand side or on the green side couldn't get the job done either. Yeah, the polar bear may have not necessarily had the attack speed, but it had plenty of health to withstand any of the fighters and the rogues on the side of Squeak, so got the job done there. And now we're starting to see some tier 4s that are, of course, in their middle stages, including the Bariox on the right-hand side right now with the gigantic Omega power booster if someone's able to grab onto it, and we are going to crash. Okay, so the very, very brief crash here. Quickly fix that up. Let's hop back into things here. Hop back into it where Ma was going up against Fury Hype, but it doesn't look like it's getting any easier here for Fury Hype in this grand final. Where it says Ma versus Fury Hype, but then it says not complain in the bottom. Interesting. But we'll hop back into the next round here and get kind of picked up where we caught off. Let's quickly take a look at our lineup. Of course, Ma's going to be leading the charge here alongside Detective Alane, Zico Perico, Not Complain, Alnert, Squeak, and I just missed the tail end there, so we'll see in the end how this one ends up turning up. But with this fight right here, right now, that is a Stage 3 Hydra Lynx with the extra attack speed and range as well. That is going to be absolutely devastating. We do see the Rampy come on out, but that thing just tickled. It did not have the firepower necessary to burn through this green squad. The Lynx from afar is just going to be able to tear through everything, and so far, I'll give everybody credit. They are dealing with these Rogues and Revenants extremely easily. The Relentless Hydra Lynx right there, as we do see, loaded up on items and looking good. Now, while we have the opportunity with the full list up, of course, it was Squeak and Fury Hype that are rounding up the bottom of our field here. Would definitely be kind of cool to see a couple different storylines here. We've seen Detective Alane do very, very good in tournaments in the past, as well as doing very well in the last Dream Ladder. Zico Perico, of course, we've seen do very, very good in the Leviathan tournament not too long ago. We saw them win a tournament. We casted them winning a tournament here in Dreamers Esports before. Fury Hype, of course, hitting second in the Leviathan tournament. If Ma happened to win this, though, it would be the first time I've seen the same winner twice. Or see one person win twice. I think Ma was the winner of the first tournament I ever casted. They were able to do that again here tonight. That would be pretty crazy. I mean, Alner is definitely due for a good finish as well as we ride along here with Not Complain going up against a Stage 3 Penguin, the Slasher. You got the Stage 3 Monk here as well. And the Stage 3 Gorilla here, hollowed out as well. Damn, that's a nice find. And the Stage 3 Apon, so holy smokes. Really rolling for these Tier 1s, and then the Tier 3s as well. I mean, this is a scary squad. All of these rogues are just going to jump directly into the Apon, and since this thing's a Stage 3, it's got a remarkable amount of health. They actually gave it the Thorns item as well, so it's relatively tankier than normal. But the Ramp Fight has not had the opportunity to fire off its ability until now, and it should, in theory, help clean up two of them. Probably didn't even necessarily need it. They just have to deal with this Penguin. They might have had the two stacking items, but when there's 4 of them or 5 of them all targeting you, there's nothing you can do there. Gonna get chopped out real quick. Surfer Dude, how's it going, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. Of course, as I'm recording and casting these matches, I do have the chats open for all of the streaming platforms, so by all means, come say hi, drop me a piece of wisdom, cuss out my cast if I get something wrong. By all means, at the end of the day, this is all just to improve. Love what I'm doing here, love Illuvium, and love the community. Alnert, of course, like I was saying before, absolutely due for a fantastic finish here. Hovered around the mid-pack positions for the last couple of tournaments. Rogue Revenant diving on into this heavy Empath Templar style. So far, Apon's gonna be able to stun out a ton. Good positioning there, good healing, but how about the Rampy? That is absolutely devastating. Just chunked out that entire southern portion of the bunker. And I don't think there's enough shields in the world that can stop this. You're just gonna get torn on through. bunker bust complete here from Alnerch, and I believe that is going to put our first player onto death's door. And Fury Hype 16. So yeah, at this point here, you are extremely close to going down. I don't think it's guaranteed, but it's definitely close. And for the first time in a while, seeing the TB Ruku, you don't see a lot of players actually try to get the T-Root to a stage 3. But if you do manage to do so, you do get that shock affinity. But now it's just a matter of finding the squeeze, and as of right now, not opting for it or haven't found it. Meanwhile, going up against this wildfire composition from OLA's Haas. Let's see if Fury Hype can break the bunker. They need to at least do a ton of damage. They need to take a ton of their alluvials out. They cannot lose this in a dramatic fashion. Otherwise, I think that is probably curtains for them today. Vermilio charge on up is going to just take care of the Crunk, so they're slowly chipping away. They may not have the Rampy, for example, to be able to bunker bust very easily, but they do have that Umbre level or stage 3 fully evolved ready to go. But those were some tanky alluvials to try and tear on through, and just not having the burst damage to get it done. Fury Hype hanging on by a thread though. 1 HP in a dream. Right along here with Fury Hype one more time as they go up against Not Complain. We got a relatively balanced composition here from Not Complain with a mixture of Empath Enchanters versus a couple of Scions and Rogues. So it has a little bit of damage sources from all kinds, including that Polar Bear down on the southern side with a couple of items. Does have the Arctase. The AC 130 is ready for flight. Up against the Rogues and Revenants. Let's see how this one goes through. The Ramp Fight rather, loaded up with items ready to dive on in here too. So this could be messy and end in a blink of an eye. We'll have to see where this Ramp Fight goes. Right dead center. This could take a few. It gets the finishing blow on a couple of them, and it should, in theory, allow for Not Complain to clean this one up. It's just a matter of dealing with the Tiruku and its Cub. And without question, it'll do the trick. Fury Hype going to fall here in 8th place. Ma versus Haas as well happening as this is all going on. That Fernite in the right-hand side trying to help support the Periox that we see on the left. There's just so much damage. I'm shocked that they were able to pull on through. Ma's squad coming in clutch here, looking strong as we start to see more tier 4s and even the tier 5 coming on through. But of the tier 5s that are there, I imagine they're going to go, or the forest is going to be in hot contention. Squeak not going to waste any time, immediately going to pick that thing up. Meanwhile, I can see a world where people pick up the Alfie line, the Dwelf, or whatchamacallit, I can't remember off the top of my head. But you probably just pick that up to sell it. I don't see a lot of people use this thing as very often. It's one of my favorite alluvials, but I do admit it is not necessarily the best when it comes to tier 5. It's very hit or miss, but I will not be surprised if it does not end up getting used here as we move on over into another NPC round. I mean, the games are definitely exciting, especially again with so many people running for fighters, running for rogue revenants. It's all like damage-based styles, so games are explosive. It's fun. Sometimes it's hard to keep up with, but I imagine it's a little bit more fun than if my kind of playstyle was meta, where I would just let the overtime damage time you out instead of actually killing you myself. I would just sit there with nature and verdant and sit in my green puddle and let the purple pulses take care of everything. But Ma is looking good here. That Periox off in the bottom left has been completely decked out with all sorts of items. It does have the spirally looking thing here. I'll probably highlight it here in a couple of moments. But if I recall correctly, that turns some of your Omega power into attack speed, which that's the whole point of the Periox. It doesn't have a big ability for itself. in terms of like a nuke or some sort of big magic damage. It just shoots over and over and over again. So the faster you can get that thing to shoot, the better. Got a couple players low though. We're gonna ride along here with Zika Perico, and I believe this was Squeak. Fighter Berserker Rogue versus Fighter Berserker Rogue with a bulwark. But you do have the two Riptoruses here, and it's the Mud versus the Bloom. The fact that on the green side we do see Mud as well, so every single time one of those Mud alluvials do get taken down, they will explode for some decent damage, and they also, I believe, steal attack speed during this as well. So even though you might not necessarily like that Exalted Monk here on your squad, it really debuffs the opponent as we see Zika Perico down to 1 HP. One more extra shot for good measure, apparently. What the heck? But this could get a little nasty. If Alnert or Haas take a bad loss here, they could find themselves eliminated. Zika Perico, again, I mean, you have 1 HP. You cannot lose anymore. It is all on the backs of the Scorpion, and now on the back here of this Stage 3 Polar Bear. I imagine this thing is going to get loaded up with items, and sure enough, that's exactly what is going to happen here. Templar buff, I believe. No, it's a Berserker buff on top of the other items as well. Does have the one as well that makes it untargetable once it hits a certain level of HP. However, you cannot get bursted. So if this ramp fight can somehow burst the Polar Bear, it is going to be curtains here for Zika Perico. We're going to see the ramp fight take to the skies, and that Polar Bear is already pretty low, down to a quarter. It is going to trigger the invulnerability, but everybody else on the side of Zika Perico has already fallen. Zika Perico going to fall here in this one. So we hop on over to Ma and Detective LNA, see how this Nature Wildfire strategy is going. So far, so good, even against that Stage 3 Lynx. I mean, that's kind of the scary thing right here, right now, if you're going up against Ma. Not only is Ma just on a winning streak, but he seems to be on rather convincing winning streaks as well. Being able to have like 5 or 6 alluvials still on the board means every time you get blasted for losing, it hurts that much more. As we're going to ride along here with Alnert and Squeak, which again, you got the Rogues and Revenants coming in clutch. Not only Rogues and Revenants, but you happen to have a bunch of Stage 3s as well. So we're seeing once again the Exalted Apon coming here to try and catch, and good little movements here for the green side to try and stay away from the Apon. They opt to switch against it. The Rip Lance does manage to come into play in the last possible second as well. Took a lot of time for that slashing to get on over and start doing some damage. Ramp fight to the skies, takes care of 3 nice and quickly. And just like that, a very convincing win here for the green side. Just a matter of dealing with the slashing. I mean, it's damn well trying. It's hanging on by a thread, but can you survive another one of those? No, you cannot. Ramp fight and its ability has the burst damage necessary to get the job done. And another convincing win here from Ma actually knocks another one out. Detective Alane is out as well, so we just had a ton of eliminations in that last round by itself. Ma not complaining. Alnert, the last alive here in our top 3. We'll go against, or we'll go showcase the one that is not up against a ghost. So we have Alnert up against Not Complain, Rogue Revenant, Empath Enchanter, Scion. Basically a very, very balanced composition here. Valnert wants to take this one. He needs to end it quickly. There are a couple of characters here that have a little burst damage, but also a couple that don't mind the fight going long. One of those in perfect position right now, though, is the ramp fight on both ends here, and it actually bursts down the green side ramp fight, so it's going to go on down. It's going to be up to the Monarch to try and clean this up. That Infernal is triggered on the left-hand side. but it is not going to be enough. It's so many low health bars. It's so close. It's a one-on-one here between the Ranger and the Winx, but the Winx is not meant to be a damage dealer. It's gonna go down. A loss there for Not Complain, but at least it was just a one-on-one, so you will not lose as much health as you could have. 23 should still be enough to buy you another loss before going down. In for a fun one here in this grand final. And it's cool to see that we do have a mixture of compositions, a rather balanced composition from Not Complain. You've got Alnerts with the Rogues and Revenants, which have been, of course, strong for so many players, especially in ranked mode. Then you have Ma looking for his second win here on stream. Would be a fantastic opportunity for him to find his first victory here in the season opener. Opting for the bunker composition. Wildfire Magma on top of it as well, so doing a little bit of extra damage for anybody who stands in the lava, while also giving himself a little bit of extra defense. And tell you what, a bunker composition, not gonna mind that at all as we see them clean on through. Going up against the Rogues from Alnert. The positioning right here on the Periox as well is pretty decent, more so up towards the front, so the Rogues are going to have to immediately dive on towards the back and try to work their way up to it. So many players, especially myself included, would still try to keep my Periox at the back and try to build a bunker around it, but then guess what? Ramp Fight says hi and will just absolutely eat them alive. And we can see it's all going to be based off of this ramp fight, but look at the big heavy front line. Got a Titanor out here. That Scarabok tier 5 tank completely loaded up with tank items as well. This thing is going to be brutal to try and go through. They do manage to burst it down to half. Here comes the ramp fight, chunks on through. That's a lot of damage actually, but the Periox still lives. Can it fight on through? It is not going to be able to. The Rogues win this one. And Ma knocked down to 38. Not Complain going up against a Ghost. Must have been Ma's Ghost, it looks like, so gonna fall down to 2. And oh my, do we have some juicy alluvials here in this one now. Not Complain going to immediately pick up the ramp fight. And getting the item that allows for mitigation, extra defense per couple of seconds to anybody nearby the target that holds this item. Alnert going to pick up the Mammoth. Meanwhile, Ma is going to opt for the dash, probably more so for the tank item it was holding. Give that to one of their other tanks, because I mean, that's what failed, right? They did burst through the tank line. And it's going to be Ma going up against the Ghost. So we'll hop on in here. Alnert versus Not Complain. Rogue Revenant versus the relatively balanced squad here from Not Complain. Lots of items onto that Monarch. It's not necessarily an alluvial that we usually see a lot of investment into, but lots of faith here into the Monarch. Here for Not Complain. Let's see how it goes down. Goes directly towards the Quinks, which should be able to take care of it. But where is that ramp fight? There it is. It is going to chop right through all of the health bars on that red side. Monarch flying on through. Carpet bomb right onto the Umbre. But I don't think there's enough firepower to go through this one. They will get taken down. And not again, but thankfully, oddly enough, thanks to the Illuvium community. In fact, to someone in chat, Surfer Dude reminding me in a comment in the last video that we did that in order to fix that, log out, log back in, get back into the game. So unlike the Leviathan tournament, we will get to see this grand final. And thank you, Surfer Dude, for the comment. I did remember. Just in time, we didn't miss a thing. Ma versus Alnert. Rogue Revenant up against the Bulwark Heavy tank line here, with the Scoriox leading the charge. That thing's fully evolved now, immediately taking care of the Queens. Now it's just a matter of dealing with these rogues. Where is the Rampite? Did it even have an opportunity to get its job done? It is, but it's only going to find actually nothing. There are still some major health bars here on the green side. Scoriox is kind of low, but they're fighting on its home turf. And the Titanor stands, Scoriox stands, and so does Ma. For the second time here on stream, and for the first time here in this season opener for the Daydream Tournament and the Dreamers Ladder. Congratulations to Ma for the victory. Yeah, I tell you what, I definitely did not want that to happen again. When it happened during the Leviathan tournament, where the grand finals glitched out, I was a very, very sad panda. I'm very, very thankful again. Community members coming in clutch. Surfer Dude, thank you again for the comment on the video, because he definitely saved the grand finals this time, and moving forward, because I'll remember. But that's definitely kind of cool. Good seeing Alnert once again find themselves a solid position. They're right around the corner. I imagine, give it another couple of tournaments, that Alnert will find one, find a win in their pocket. They're right there. They're just right there. Just a matter of time. A big congratulations, of course, to Ma for the second victory again on stream, and starting off the Dreamers Ladder season opener with a bang. Stink. Second, don't mind me. Of course, still plenty of action to come onto the streams over this week. While there may not necessarily be anything on the weekend, this Friday coming up, I'll probably do something a little bit similar. I got ourselves another Dreamers Esports tournament that we can cast. Any sort of Illuvium updates that happen through. So I know we did kind of go through the Pro League announcement earlier in here, which of course, for anyone just tuning in and not didn't quite get the catch yet, but yeah, Illuvium did release their Pro League, or announce their Pro League, which is definitely going to be a grind for competitors, because it's going to rely heavily on participating in a tournament basically every Saturday. And I know personally, I'm just waiting to hear about the times of the tournaments themselves, because they have dates, but they do not have times. Because I know the first 3 tournaments are booked right on top of a wedding for each of those weekends here for myself. But you know me, I want to cast, so we will see what we can do. Once I get that update, I'm sure that I'll let you know. Illuvium will let you know as well, of course. But as soon as I know, you'll know, of course. But it's just good times all around. It's awesome to see a lot of positivity here in the Illuvium community. Arena feels great. I know I joke about Rogues and Revenants, but hey, they didn't even win that tournament. Not this time. It can definitely be a little bit appalling. Or not appalling, but a little bit polarizing, just watching your team get evaporated, but it just goes to show that even the little Rampy, for example, just relies so heavily on positioning as well. Being able to dodge it. It's crazy how make or break it is. Like Rampy, Rampfire, whatever you happen to be running that time. You allow it to get its ability off right in the center of your team while you're basically curtains. It can be a little brutal. But the strong players are coming on through, which is why I don't even necessarily think that it's a problem right now. Just catching up on the chat right now, but yes, absolutely, Server Dude. Thank you again. I'm glad it worked out. I think it's just been, what, 2 weeks since Spectator Mode came out? We've already done so much. There's still so much more I want to do. I want to hunt more hollows. I want to cast more games. I want to try and get myself out of potato tier rank. Because I have this problem, I swear, with every game that I play. Like, I feel like I understand the game at a platinum to like a diamond level. But then God forbid if you actually ask me to perform in it and compete, I am terrible. Yeah, so Friday I think what we'll end up doing, depends if any other news drops, but we might start off the day with the Dreamers Esports tournament cast, but then close out the broadcast with a match or two. Try and see if I can squeak one out and raise my rank rather than drop it. Backseat gaming, of course, is always welcome. It's just as much about knowledge and mindset, so I don't mind any sort of backseating. And normally I would go till 10:30 my time, however, got an early day with a bunch of movement and stuff tomorrow, so we'll probably be calling a little bit shorter. Stick around for a few more minutes though. Of course, big thank you again to all the new faces, old faces all coming in and supporting, especially after the weekend. I definitely did not expect that weekend to go the way it did. I thought that I was just going to be kind of casting to myself as per usual, but I did not realize that I was going to basically end up being the stream for the event. But I do thank, of course, all the community members and the staff of Illuvium as well, because they were promoting my stuff just as much, if not more, than what I was. Once the stream was going. I should have maybe clarified that I was a caster and not just sitting in spectator mode. I guess I do have to work on my self-promotion a little bit in that regard. But it was just overall very, very positive vibes, and that was a blast. Definitely looking forward to more. But I know Illuvium themselves will have their stream up and running sometime soon. There's plenty of people over there that know exactly what they're doing. Would be cool to cast for them sometime though, I'd be down. I'm just gonna put that out there. But again, I guess I kind of recap for anybody who maybe wasn't necessarily here at the beginning, because yeah, that's Leviathan tournament was definitely something else, and it made me feel a way about a game that I have never felt before. And again, I remember talking to Scoriax about it, but on X about it, but it felt like you're raising your own kids and then putting them onto the field. And it's like, I've trained you, I've got you in position, but I can't perform for you. Which is honestly something that would change the game compared to other things I've played, because again, I know I'm kind of reiterating what I said at the opener, but the closest thing I could think of is like, say, Pokemon, for example, where you can bring in something from a different game through Pokemon Home and then have it battle in competitive. But the thing is with Pokemon is that everything is scripted and everything's telegraphed, right? Like, I know exactly which move I'm going to do when. I have a rough idea of where I am speed-wise, so I know exactly when it's going to happen. Meanwhile, for Illuvium, it's like, yes, I can train them. Yes, I caught them myself and I raised them, leveled them. But I can't tell it where to move. I can entice it to move somewhere based off of my positioning, but at the end of the day, it has a mind of its own and it has to perform for you. So it really does feel like having your own kids out onto the field and competing, show themselves off, and that is something I have never felt in a game before, and I absolutely love it. Yeah, Leviathan is just absolutely sick. I really, really do hope that IPL eventually has some sort of Leviathan tie-in. So again, I talked about it a little bit earlier. I do, of course, worry that just throwing money at a prize pool for a tournament, if that's all you have, isn't going to keep people here. But if you have something to kind of pique their interest with casual stuff after the fact, that'll be definitely really, really cool. But one thing I'm also very, very scared about. I see this all the time with fighting game community or Smash communities or any sort of popular esport. Eventually, everybody wants a piece of the pie, especially tournament organizers. So everybody starts running tournaments and trying to capitalize on it, and it makes everything so spread out and so thin that nothing feels important. So I genuinely do hope that eventually it gets to a point where Illuvium have their stuff, their own hosted tournaments, and like maybe one or two max additional community tournaments every once in a while. But I really don't want anything more than that. If all of a sudden we start getting tournament after tournament where, say, there's Dreamers Monday, Friday, then there's something else on Wednesday, something else on Thursday, something else on Monday, it's like, okay, nothing's gonna feel special anymore. And that's where I see scenes then start to stagnate, scenes start to die, and then start to kind of implode on each other. I personally would be completely A-okay if it stayed the way things were right now, where you have Illuvium stuff, that's like the heavy-hitting super prize money, and then you have your community tournaments versus Dreamers Esports. If we start getting too much, or a small community already as is, I don't want to see us eat ourselves alive. And it's like, I know nobody asked, why should I be worrying about it? But again, I've been an esports broadcaster for traditional esports in a past life for over a decade. I've worked in management, I've worked in running events for them, and I see it way too often. So I hope that everything falls into place. With that being said, though, I am going to be calling it an early night to have a stupid early morning that I have to do tomorrow. If I'm lucky, it'll be time to maybe record some additional Illuvium videos as well. I'm doing all these tournament casts, but one of the things I also want to do is, again, start making content around the Illuvials themselves, some not necessarily competitive guides, but at least kind of explanations to allow for more people to come in and understand what each character does. That's going to be a goal of mine personally. Because at the end of the day, you have 10 characters or 10 Illuvials per side plus a ranger. And so many characters on board, so many Illuvials on board, well, it can be visual diarrhea. It's hard for me to follow sometimes, let alone somebody brand new to the game, so that'll be something I'm doing. But of course, one thing to note, I've been doing all this news, all of this talk, all of this hype, and coverage on Illuvium. Not once did I mention anything about the coin, the token, crypto talk. There are plenty other people out there more knowledgeable than me in that space. And frankly, I do not care what the price of the token is. I do not care about earning anything in this game. I don't care about selling my Illuvials. I don't care about, like, the ecosystem of sorts. I obviously want it to work for the sake of the game thriving. But you won't get that news from me. I'm here for the game. Not because it's crypto, not because it's Web3. Just because I like creature collectors and battlers and connected universes like this, which Illuvium has been doing so far, and doing what I would argue is a fantastic job of. Which, while it sounds like I'm glazing the heck out of them, I will again say I am not sponsored by Illuvium. I am not sponsored by Dreamers Esports. I just want this game and I want this community to succeed because I enjoy it. And as long as that stays the case, I'll still be here. So with that, I'll see you next Friday for another esports cast. See if we got any more news to talk about, and go from there. Just one more quick check at the chat here before I do close things out. Yeah, Surfer Dude, I'm definitely thankful. One of the big things that's... So I kind of rant off again one more time here. But one of the big things I always stressed about when I did any sort of esports content, or collegiate esports especially, was saving the legacy. To the point where, as much as having something amazing live is cool, I want to always stress that somebody can go back and watch it later. Whether it be a fan or a player or anything along those lines. A lot of people that I work with think I'm a freaking quack for this. But let's cement the legacy of your tournaments, of your game in this instance. This is the beginning. And it's already pretty freaking sick. If we can keep going from there, watch where we were, go from there. Because yeah, 2 a.m. your time, yeah, no doubt, I wouldn't expect you to stay up that late for that. And I'm very, very thankful you're able to tune in, and then help me with the comment as well, which was absolutely fantastic. There's much, much more to esports than just streaming it live. I'm glad I was able to help. That's what again, with that being said, we'll be back next Friday, or not next Friday, this Friday coming up. We'll be back this Friday coming up again with another Dreamers Esports cast. And then if we're done quick enough, maybe it's my turn to get onto the field for a little bit of ranked play. Or if we have some other news to cover, we'll absolutely cover it. So again, one more time, big thank you to everybody for all the support since the weekend. Awesome seeing so many new faces and so many awesome people here in this Illuvium community. Again, this is just the beginning. I can't wait to see where this leads us. Have a great night, Guildmates.